Hello everyone, I just want to welcome you back to my YouTube channel. Today is Sunday. I'm sorry, it's Friday. Wait a minute. Yes, it's Friday, September the 10th. And this is going to be part 5 and perhaps the final entry about finding love in uncommon places. So today I'm gonna speak about a movie that I saw years ago that really, in my opinion, uh, just really captures what love really looks like. Um, so the name of the movie is called The Hurricane. It's a Denzel Washington movie. And the movie was released in, I believe, like 1999, somewhere around there. And I saw this movie in the theater when it was released, and it just had a tremendous impact on my life. Just to kind of give you a little background of what the movie is about. The movie is actually based on a true story. A man by the name of Reuben Carter is played by Denzel Washington. He was actually a boxer. He was actually a boxer and was doing very well in the field. I think he was one of the top contenders for like the middleweight um, championship. So what basically happens, and I can't remember around what time frame this actually happened. It was either may have been like the 60s. I'm not for sure exactly, but he and another gentleman were falsely accused of murdering 3 people and ended up going to prison. And while he's in prison, he writes a book, and this book ends up in like a thrift store of some sort. And there's this young black kid who picks it up and reads it. And from there, he begins to write back and forth to Reuben Carter, or his boxing name was Hurricane, which is why they named the movie that. So they begin to write back and forth. This young black kid is being raised by some Caucasian people. And I don't remember the context of how they met or how that ended up coming about, but he's being raised by, I believe, 3 Caucasian people. I believe there was a woman and a man. I believe they were married. And then there was another white man who may have been another relative. I can't remember. It's been a really long time since I saw the movie, but after this young man reads the book, he then passes it on to each of them. They eventually read the book as well, and they are convinced that this man is innocent and are compelled to basically stand by him and support him in trying to get released. So what ends up happening, and I don't know how long it was that they did this, but it was a pretty long time. After they start writing back and forth, they then begin to visit him in prison. And from there, they eventually move. If I'm not mistaken, they moved to Canada, if I'm not mistaken, so that they could be closer to him. And if I'm not mistaken, perhaps he was in prison in like New York, uh, and they end up moving to Canada, which was very close for them, so that they could continue to visit him and be a source of support and strength to him. So that's kind of a little background about the movie, but I remember when I watched this movie, I was just so impacted by it. It really like touched me in a very deep place. I mean, I think it's the first time that I saw a movie and was like literally bawling, like in the movie theater, like weeping. It was just so powerful to me. And it was just so powerful to see that these people were willing to stand by this man who had been falsely accused, and he was falsely accused, him and the other gentleman. And I don't know how many years he's been in prison. It was a long time before he was released. But they stood by this man through through the darkest season of his life, when he had like no one, like I said, they wrote him, they visited him, they eventually moved so that they could be closer to him and continue to see him and I guess work on his case and getting him exonerated. But it was just such a true depiction of, such an authentic depiction of what love looks like. And this was a black man. Reuben Carter was African American, and then you have the African American kid, and then you have, of course, the three Caucasian people that were raising the African American kid and also got involved. But, it spoke to the fact that love doesn't see color, doesn't see religion. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he became a Muslim when he was in prison, while incarcerated. But it just spoke to just how love doesn't see color, it doesn't see religion, how love is just willing to pay the price, to stand by someone when they're in the darkest season of their life and have no way of knowing when or if relief will ever come, so to speak. So this movie just deeply, deeply impacted me. As I stated, I remember just bawling in the theater. Like, I just could not stop weeping. And at that point in time, I was in the early stages of my career as a juvenile probation officer, and I was always looking for unique ways to get a message to young people about love, about acceptance. And so this movie is one of the movies that I would make my kids watch. There's another Denzel Washington movie that I would also make them watch, which was Remember the Titans, which was a football movie, also based on a true story about race relations. A very powerful movie as well. So those were two movies that I would make my kids watch, that were, involved with the court system, and just have them write a really like a one-page summary of what they learned. I just wanted to make sure they watched. It wasn't really about making them do a report, but it was just so that I would know that they did indeed watch it, and we could have some communication about it, just to try and hone in the message of love and acceptance and what it looks like, and just trying to kind of broaden their perspective in a unique way. But again, this movie was highly recommended. It was just such a powerful movie, and maybe because I was doing what I was doing at that particular season, but it really just communicated so powerfully and yet so simply that love is unconditional, that love doesn't see color, that love doesn't see religion. Love is love. Love sticks by you when you have no one. It was just, it was all that to me. I mean, I just thought it was an amazing, amazing movie. So, in speaking about finding love in uncommon places, who would have thought that this man who ends up in prison, falsely accused, writes a book, and that book ends up in the hands of this another young teenager, who in turn has these other adults who are raising him to read it, and they all come to bat for this man because they're convinced of his innocence. So it just speaks to the fact that love can happen in an uncommon way and in uncommon places. So, I'm not really speaking about like romantic love, although I'm sure there's some things that I'm speaking about that would apply to as well in this situation. But I'm really more speaking about just unconditional love that God expects us to display towards one another. And you don't even have to know someone to show them the love of God, to show them that you care, that you're concerned. And in some instances, he may require, as he did with them, he may require or move upon your heart to take some kind of action, especially when you see something or someone suffering unjustifiably, and a wrong that has been executed against them. And he may cause you to stand up and fight for them, stand with them, because that's what love does. So, just in everything that we've talked about, sometimes, as I stated in one of the previous videos, not everyone gets love or got the love that they should have received, perhaps through family. But it will come, and it can come in a different way. It doesn't necessarily have to be blood relatives that love you. In that situation, they were strangers until they started reaching out to him and got to know him and decided that they would fight and stand with him against this injustice that had been executed in his life. So love can happen in so many different ways. And it doesn't always have to be from family members. It can be from a stranger that just decides to take up your cause, or that God causes to show you favor and take up your cause, whatever it may be. So I just want people to be open to the fact that unconditional love is just that. It's unconditional. And it can come from a stranger. It can come from a friend. It can come from a mentor. It can come from a relative. It can come through any number of means, but the main thing is that it comes. And that's the main thing. It doesn't matter who it comes from, but just that it comes. And that we should all endeavor to love more deeply, unconditionally, one another, because that's really what life is about. And whether you had a great family or didn't have a great family, you can still love. You can still give. There's some who don't believe that you can give what you didn't have. And I guess there's some truth to that, but I do believe that you can be and become what you didn't necessarily have. Not everyone who grew up around drugs and alcohol does drugs and alcohol. So there are those who escaped it. And I believe that just because you didn't have something imparted to you in the right way doesn't mean that you can't give it. So those are just kind of my final thoughts about finding love in uncommon places. Just that we all would open our eyes and be more sensitive to those around us who are in need of unconditional love, and that you just do whatever God is moving on your heart to do concerning a person or a situation. That we would look past the color of skin, that we would look past religion, and any other hang-ups that we have, and just love. Just love like God loves. And this world would be a much, much better place. Thanks for listening.